Hi y'all, welcome back to Lives. I think it's time we play a little Minecraft. Alright, so I have a bunch of supplies that we picked up last time. Boom, lots of gravel, lots of sand. Let's get this unloaded. Gravel, 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 gravel. Gravel, gravel, gravel. What else do we have in here I need to get rid of? We got some cobblestone. What's the matter, puppies? Some diamond ore. I got some gunpowder, some bones, some rotten flesh I don't need. Is that some andesite, it looks like? Oh, it's you! Jeez. Noisy parrot. Glass. Got some glass to unload here. Boop. Okay, so I need... I believe I was using blue... which is lapis, which I have tons of. I'm just gonna go ahead and make a big stack of this, I guess. Ooh, I'll be able to get my... Oh no, is that not how that works? Oh wait, does lapis have a new recipe for making blue dye? It does. Sand, 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 sand. Gravels, 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 gravels. Oh man, lots of concrete powder I need to turn into things. Hopefully my machine here still works. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Yep, I actually went too far. Changes to the machine and all, you know. Oh, right, right. I was trying to think why I don't just have a giant stack of this on top there. But if I do a giant stack of this on top down there, then it won't, it'll harden on me and it won't work correctly. I don't know how much of this I actually need converted into concrete at the moment, but might as well do a little bit, right? Plus it's fun to use the machine. Oh man, so I don't remember if I told this story or not, but it's pretty funny. We got my nephew got a drone for Christmas, and so none of us have ever used a drone. They're kind of complicated. I'm a little surprised at both how easy it is to pilot and how difficult it is to pilot. And so the one he got has some automated features, and the one of the automated features is the go home button. And so if you have it calibrated correctly, and that's a big trick to it. If it's calibrated correctly, how long has that little pond been there? I don't even remember that. Um, then that's weird. I don't remember there being a pond there. Oh man, I'm so tall that I'm seeing through the world. Um, and so we get it out, and okay, I get it out because I want to play with the drone. I watched some drone racing one time, and I thought it looked like a lot of fun piloting those, and so I really wanted to try one. And I talked about maybe getting one, and then my sister bought one for her kid, and so um, I'm like, oh man, you guys got that drone this morning, huh? It's like 10 in the morning, and they're like, oh yeah, we got the drone. It's right there in that box. I'm like, oh well, you need to get it set up so we can get it charging and stuff and try it out later. And I had to work that day, so um, they're like, oh yeah, yeah, we'll get on that. And then later, like 5 in the afternoon, I'm like, hey, you guys got that drone going? And they're like, oh no, it was like 2 in the afternoon. I was like, hey, you guys got that drone out and charging yet? Oh no, no, we're gonna get on it. And so then at like 5 o'clock, I'm like, hey, you guys got that drone out and charging it? They're like, oh yeah, no, no, we're gonna do it. And so then when I got done with work at like 7 o'clock, uh, they still hadn't opened the drone. So I opened it up, and you got to put it together. And so the one they got um, was kind of difficult to get the propeller guards in place, um, because the why can't I? Oh, I went up three. I'm like, why can't I place a block there? That's how this works. And so, might as well just do it all, I guess. And so I get the propeller guards in place, and I think that the putting the legs on it wasn't hard, but getting the propeller guards in place was no. You know what? Putting the legs on was difficult too because it wasn't an expensive drone, and so the pieces were like screwed together, but there weren't threaded holes for the screws, and so they were just smaller than the screws, and so trying to force a non like a non wood screw, non cement screw, whatever, through a hole. You think there's any way that I can manage to hit this? Woo! I didn't think I was gonna manage that, but I did. That's crazy. And so oh man, are we gonna get to work the first try? Most of the time that fails the first round on me. That's awesome. And so I get it all put together. We get it charged up, and you can see as it updates up through there. It's almost faster than it updates. Actually, I think I usually do this right here. No, you know what? I actually wait until there's multiple rows out so I can attack multiple rows at once because I'm faster than the machine is. We get it outside and no. First, I try to start it up in the house because I just wanted to see it work. And so I start it up and I lift it up off the ground. It immediately flies sideways and slams under the refrigerator. And we've got this grocery list thing with a magnet on the back of it that sticks to the front of the to the front of the refrigerator. It just shreds the front page of that. Just little bits of paper everywhere. It's crazy. And I'm like, oop, 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 I get it to land, and so we take it outside, which is where we should have taken it in the first place. And we fly it around a little bit, and it's fine. I'm like, oh, we should take it out in the backyard so people can see it from inside the house. And so we take it out to the backyard, and we're playing around with it, and it's got a go home feature, which tells it to land back where it was when it took off. And then it's got a orbit feature, and because it's got a camera on it, and we haven't got it set up to do anything with the camera yet. And so we tell it to, or the my brother-in-law's playing with it, and somehow, and he's not sure what happened, but he got it into orbit mode, and we couldn't figure out how to get it back out of orbit mode. In fact, I still don't know how to get it back out of orbit mode. I mean, it's still not orbiting, but it's crazy. And so it's flying around, and when you try to use the controls while it's in orbit mode, you don't take it out of orbit mode, you just change the size and height of the orbit, and so it's going around us and around us. But it's nighttime, and so all you can see are the flashing lights on it, and when they flash off, you can't see it at all. And so it's flying around us, and we don't know where it's going to be at, and it's getting higher and lower while we're trying to get it to stop. And it gets really close to my 5-year-old niece, and she starts freaking out that it's trying to kill her and stuff. It was hilarious, and um, so that was our first round with the drone. And so then we take it out a second time, and second time it went much better. We flew it farther. We went out in the daytime, and we only lost control of it once. Not exactly sure what happened, but it crashed in a tree. I get a little nervous because the kids are flying it, and the kids are like 8 and 5. And I feel like the drone could probably smash a window if you're not careful with it. And um, so I try to just have them fly. And we got like a pond, and so when it runs out of battery, which is pretty quickly, drones do not have a lot of battery life. And so when it runs out, it just lands. And so I don't want them to land on the pond because we'll never get it back. And because I don't think the pond is frozen enough to walk on, and nobody's going swimming in the middle of winter. And so we're trying to keep it away from the pond and stuff. We should probably go out to the other yard and fly it around over there sometime, because that one's a little more open field kind of yard and a little less pond in the middle of it. Plus, it's long, so we could fly it a long way. But so it crashed into a tree when we lost control of it. Not too big of a deal. And then we took it out the third time. Well, the third time I didn't calibrate it all the way because I thought, we didn't use the go home part last time, so I ain't gonna worry about it this time. You only gotta calibrate the gyroscope or the compass if you're gonna use the go home feature. And so I didn't calibrate the compass. And so we just took it out and we were flying around. Well, then we hit the go home button, and it doesn't know where to go home, and it flies right at my face. I thought it was gonna hit me in the face. I ducked out of the way. I punched it out of the air. Oh, it was crazy. It was crazy. I really thought it was gonna get me. I kind of want to get one of my own so that I can just play it because I'm trying to be nice. It's my nephew's drone. It only gets like 8 to 10 minutes of flight time, which is not a lot of time. I mean, it's enough to have some fun with it, but it's not enough to really have some fun with it. and they didn't get a second battery because they didn't know if the kids would even play with it. And so I think that thing just hit me. And so I wish this thing would keep going and I could just go work now because I've got a couple of stacks here, but I can't leave this because once it gets to like 8, right, it stops and won't push any more out, and I don't want it to get bound up because it's difficult to unbind. Uh, which sounds like a medical thing, but so yeah, that was our fun with the drones, and then man, and then the other big thing we got for Christmas was Gloomhaven, which is this giant board game, and I mean giant board game. I don't know what they paid for it, but it was over $100, and I've seen it going for over $200, depending on how many are in stock and how available it is. But finally got Gloomhaven, and so we played it a couple of times now. I'm not sure what it's going to be like when I try to play it by myself. I haven't done that yet. Um, but I played it with my older niece and nephew one afternoon. It took us like 2 hours to even figure out how to get started with it. It's so complicated. It's not that complicated. It's just complicated. Uh, because there's like, if you've never played a board game like Gloomhaven, it might take you longer than 2 hours to figure out any of it, to be honest. Um, but it's a dungeon crawling game, and so you play as a team and you fight against monsters. And if you've ever watched anybody like play Dungeons and Dragons, it's not dissimilar from that. Uh, I mean, it doesn't play the same way as Dungeons and Dragons, but it's not dissimilar in style, I guess. And so I play a game called Descent sometimes. Descent Journeys in the Dark. That is a lot like it. Or it's a lot like Descent, I guess. And I'm still not sure we got it all figured out correctly. And I already feel like I gotta change some rules because I don't like how the rules work. And, when you're playing a game at home, nobody can tell you if you're playing the rules wrong or not. But there's a there's a an issue I find with how the treasure system works in the game, and I don't like it. Um, and so we've only managed to get through 2 missions on the 2 times I've played it, or the 3 times I've played it. So we played it once with the niece and nephew, and we got through the first two. They're called scenarios, and it went all right. And there's 17 different classes. And one of the more interesting things I think about the game that I've never seen in a game before is that a lot of stuff is sealed when you open the game. And I don't mean like it's in its plastic wrap. I mean like there are seals on like the boxes that the classes are in. And so when you open the rule booklet, it's like don't open anything with seals. And so the idea is that you start with like 6 basic classes and you play the game with those basic classes, and then as you play the game, like the map, I'm not sure I even like the idea with the map, but there's a sticker sheet, and so there's a big board, like a game board, like you're playing Monopoly or something, and it is the map for the game, and so um, it it doesn't have any places on it. It's just got numbers. And so as you find a place in the campaign, you're supposed to add the sticker for it to the board. And so I don't know. That seems weird to me. So I'm probably just gonna stick the stickers on the board as we go, and then once they're on there, I'm not gonna take them back off. And there's another whole like set of stickers that are just going to be weird when we get that far, because you can purchase upgrades to your abilities, and your abilities are on like playing cards, and so you're gonna have to put stickers on your playing cards to show that you have the upgrades, I guess. And then like I just got a character to level 2 today, and so now I've got 2 extra cards to add to my abilities deck, but you can only have 10 at a time for this particular class, and so I'm gonna have to go through and pick out 2 that I don't want from the original deck and replace it. Well, you don't have to replace it, I guess, but they are pretty cool abilities that I want to use. But it's an interesting game. It's complicated, and my nephew and I where did the stone go? Give me back the stone so I can fix this. So my younger nephew and I have been playing it the last couple days, and I'll tell you what, we did not do well at all. So yesterday we tried to play, and we didn't get through the very first mission because complicated games like this often have like what happens when you travel cards. And so we go to travel, and ooh, that didn't turn my thing, right? No. Okay. That would have sucked if that had turned the top 2 top 2 rows there. And so we go to travel, and you flip up a road card, and so in this game they're like, as you travel down the road, you come across an area where the sides of the road are too steep to climb, and as you enter this small canyon, bandits step out before and behind you, and then the bandits would be like, um, well, some of us poor folk here are in need of food, and we think that you adventurers there with all your equipment could probably spare us some gold so that we don't starve to death, being the good people that you are, And so then it's like, option A, pay the bandits 5 gold per person in the group, or B, fight the bandits. And so option A, everybody loses 5 gold. Option B, you fight off the bandits, but when you start the dungeon, you start with 3 less hit points. And so that's what happened to us. And so we started with 3 less hit points. Which 3 does not sound like a large number, but when your starting hit points are 10, it's a pretty big number. Or 7, depending on your class. And so I think we switched classes today because I've seen every one of the starting classes now in gameplay. I personally like the brute. Although the spellcaster that my nephew's using looks like it could be fun, he just takes forever to pick a card, which drives me crazy. Oh, hey, we made it all the way. That's not going to work. That's not going to work at all. Oh, it did work. I lied. It's going to work, but it's going to work in a weird way. And so, alright, let's shut you down. Okay, and then we can take, yeah, let's go ahead and put this in here, and I'll make some gray while I'm at it, and then I can take over what I have made. Provided I didn't just use it all up doing gravel, sand, gravel, sand, gravel, sand, gravel, a little bit of sand. And then in here I've got light gray dye. Because I don't think I have enough sand to... Oh no, I did get... Right, I almost have enough to do a full set. Almost, but not quite. I know, little parrot. Stop barking. Okay, you guys don't need to pick it up now. Right, sand, and then we'll come back over here and get the gravel. Um, but yeah, so it's so then today, right, we go back in and we play again. We pick new classes from what we used yesterday because we played Crag Hart, which is like a dude made out of sand or stone, and he does like I didn't like him because he does area effect attacks that hit his allies as well as the enemies, and a lot of his abilities were like damage all of your allies and enemies that are adjacent to you. And I'm like, okay, I like the damage the enemy part, but damage your allies really every time. And then the so I switched back to the brute, which is the class I used the first time I played today. Since we failed yesterday because we didn't, it's hard to heal in the game. And it's not hard to heal, it's just that when you're starting out, you don't have a lot of abilities. And so when I can only heal for a couple of hit points, it's hard to get back ahead on the game when you're already down 3 hit points. And literally, we're killed because we were 3 hit points down. If we'd had those 3 hit points, I would have survived the attacks that finished us off. And so then today, right? So today we get going and we switch characters and we go in. And the first scenario is a merchant hires you to go deal with some bandits that stole from her. And so we go in to do that. And then the second half of that is the bandits have actually gone deeper into the catacombs that they are hiding out in. Oh, yeah. And so they want you to head deeper into the catacombs and deal with it. And so, oh, you know what? It's supposed to come across through here. And so we go deeper in the catacomb and we fight the boss in there. And that's as far as I had made it with my older niece and nephew. And so then my younger nephew, he's like, "Ooh, we should do the next one." And I'm like, "All right." And so we go back to town and we do a town card because there's a card for what happens when you're in town. And and so we do that, and then and oh dang it, I didn't want to fall off. I need to be up there. And then when we get going, right? Well, then we do a road card. And so I was letting my nephew pick the cards because he's 8, and I don't know, just I don't need to pick the cards. I just I don't have that need like he does to to do that kind of thing. And so I let him pick the cards and then or pick the choices of what's going to happen. I don't let him pick the cards. I'm the one controlling the game. He's just playing the game. And so we do the cards and you know what? This top layer. Oh no, it's going to be above this layer. Never mind. I was thinking, oh, what if I got a doorway here? But that's not how this works. Because this is the lower floor. And so so we get going and we pull the road card, and the road card is like, as you're traveling through the forest to get to your destination, suddenly you are inundated by a large number of small animals running your direction from the forest. Mice and rabbits and squirrels and stuff like that. And I totally don't didn't put any blocks in here. And and so it's like, what do you do? And so option A, turn and follow the animals out of the forest, or option B, run in the direction the animals are coming from. And so my nephew's like, ooh, option B, we gotta see what's going on. I'm like, that's a fire. That's what happens. That's it's either a fire or a flood. One of those two things is happening. And he's just let us into it. And sure enough, it's a fire. And so we head into the fire, and apparently I could use some more andesite out here. And so we take 3 points of damage to start the scenario, and we start wounded. Wounded is a very serious thing in this game, and so what happens is at the start of every turn we lose a hit point. I only had 10 to start with. I've lost 7 to the fire, and now I'm taking 1 extra hit point. And so to get rid of wounded, you gotta use a heal ability, and when you heal, you don't get any hit points back, you just stop the wounding. Which isn't a terrible thing. I mean, you want to get rid of the wounding, so um, so we get in, and the merchant has now sent us to deal with a group of barbarians who have been raiding her caravans. And so when you get on the map is like, to complete this map, you must kill 5 times the number of players worth of enemies. I'm like, oh, 10 enemies, and we're already down 6 hit points between the two of us. And then it's like, every other round when there are 2 players, you add a guard to the map until this door is opened. I'm like, oh, and respawning bad guys. And so we take our first turn, and my nephew immediately runs up to the bad guys and fires a fireball into the 2 bad guys next to him, killing both of them. That's a good thing. The bad thing is he's wounded, and he should have healed himself. And he didn't. And so, because he didn't heal himself, the next part is the bad guys attack. And the way the game works, the closest person to a bad guy is their target, or if there are 2 people who are the same distance away, the person who went earlier. Because that is part of the game. It does tell you what order to play in, and is different based on what abilities you used. And so he was closest to the bad guy. Bad guy attacks. He does 3 points of damage. I'm like, oh, well, 3 points of damage, that's nothing, right? Nope. Nephew was down to 2 hit points. He's now out of the game. It's just me. It's the first turn. It's just me. It's just me against everything. And so I tried. I tried. I made it all the way to the door. I got the door opened. I killed all the bad guys on the first part of the map. And then the archer who is standing in the second part of the map killed me. So, yeah. It's a pretty crazy game. I like it. I like it a lot. I talked about the treasure thing. I do want to change the treasure thing because the way it's currently set up, we got 10 gold each for completing 2 maps as our reward, and it costs 10 gold for like the lowest level thing. So like, ooh, you could buy a potion now, and some of the stuff is like pay 100 gold for this, or. And so it's not. It's not. Oh man, I don't have any. I was thinking, ooh, we could work on the stairs a little bit here. Since we know where the floor runs out. Okay, I probably want this, right? Or do I want to go all the way over with this? I feel like I want this. I don't want this. Never mind. I lied. I lied. We'll have to figure this out. I don't. I don't know how I want to do the stairs. Yeah. Oh, what did I do there? Weird. Why did I? Why did I do that? That's just bizarre. Get out of here. Dun, 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 dun. All right. Oh, this is just one part of the first floor. So now I got to figure out what I want the hallway to look like, and then once I get the hallways in, I'm gonna put bathrooms over here, I guess, and then office, 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 office. On the second floor it'll be conference room. On the third floor it'll be conference room and offices. So I don't know. I probably change color, I guess, in the hallways. But yeah, it's coming along. It's coming along. I like it. But yeah, the way it works, you kill a bad guy, it drops a coin, and then you have to move. You have to end your movement for the turn on the coin. But the game itself has kind of a time limit built into it because every time you take a turn, you use 2 cards. And when you run out of cards, you have to short rest to get your cards back, and then one of those cards goes in the lost pile, and most people can't get their lost cards back. And some of your abilities make your cards go into the lost pile, so you can only use them like once per dungeon. Uh, for example, the Brute has a card that lets him do 6 damage when he attacks 1 time per dungeon, and which is a lot of damage because a lot of things only have like 4 or 5 hit points. And so, but then that card's gone from your deck, and when you run out of cards, you're exhausted and you can't play anymore. And so there's a little bit of a timer built in, so I'm not sure how they expect you to run around and get treasure and have enough cards left over to fight the dungeon. And then there are treasure chests, so I might be doing it wrong, but um, I'm pretty sure it said that once you complete a dungeon, you don't get the stuff that's on the ground. So you don't get the money for the bad guys you killed, you don't get the treasure chest you didn't open after you've killed everybody. Maybe you could run around after they're dead and collect things. I don't know. I'll have to look a little closer at the rules because my niece was on her phone telling me what it said when we couldn't figure something out. So, um, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting game. All right, with that, I am gonna call it a night. So click like if you like, subscribe, share, and catch the next one, and I will talk to you later.